You saw the price tag on that sleeve of premium balls and something in your gut told you it was wrong. Hold on to that feeling, because if you're over 50 and you're still teeing up the ball you were told to trust, I need to show you something that took me 11 years and far too much money to finally understand. Here's the truth I'll prove to you before this is over. For a golfer with a moderate swing speed, the most expensive golf ball on the shelf is quietly costing you distance, not adding it, not saving you strokes, costing you yards you'll never get back. And I know exactly how that sounds, because I was the guy who argued the opposite for years. I stood in the pro shop and lectured my buddies about why the tour ball was worth every penny. I remember the exact round it broke. A cold Tuesday in October, my regular foursome, and my friend Dale outdrove me by 15 yards with a ball he paid less than $20 a dozen for. I was playing the $55 box. That moment sent me down a rabbit hole of robot tests, compression numbers, and one lab result that flipped everything I believed. By the end of this, I'll show you a specific test done on a machine that doesn't lie, that proves what the right ball can do for a slower swing. And here's the part that matters most to you. You don't need to change a single club in your bag to use any of this. This works with the exact driver and irons you already own. Stay with me. Let me take you back to where the lie started, because it didn't feel like a lie. It felt like wisdom. For most of my playing life, I believed one simple thing: better players play better balls. So if I wanted to be a better player, I should play the ball the best players in the world play. That's the logic every one of us swallowed. It sounds airtight. The tour pros play a premium urethane ball. They're the greatest ball strikers alive. Therefore, that ball must be the best ball. So I bought it year after year, box after box. I want you to understand how much money we're actually talking about, because I never added it up until it was too late. A premium tour ball runs around $50 to $55 a dozen. I played roughly 40 rounds a year. Between lost balls, water hazards, and just rotating them out, I was going through 6 to 8 dozen a season. Call it $350 a year, every year, for well over a decade. That's more than $4,000 spent on golf balls, chasing something I was told I needed. And here's what I never questioned. Not once did I ask whether that ball was designed for my swing. I just assumed it was designed for the best, so it was good enough for everyone underneath them. That assumption is the single most expensive mistake in amateur golf, and I made it with a smile on my face. The thing nobody explained to me is a number called compression. Every golf ball has one. It's a measure of how much the ball squishes when you strike it. A premium tour ball sits somewhere around 90 to 100 on the compression scale. A soft, low compression ball can sit down in the 30s or 40s. And that difference is not a small detail. It is the entire game for a senior golfer. Here's why. A golf ball only gives you its full distance when you compress it properly at impact. Think of it like a spring. If you don't push the spring in far enough, you don't get the full snap back out. To fully compress a 90 compression tour ball, you need serious club head speed. We're talking driver swing speeds up around 105 miles per hour or more. That's tour speed. That's what those balls were built for. Now, let me ask you the question I finally asked myself. What's your swing speed? Because the average male golfer over 50 swings, the driver somewhere between 80 and 90 miles per hour. Plenty of us are down in the 70s, and it keeps drifting lower every year, whether we admit it or not. And at those speeds, you are physically not able to fully compress that expensive tour ball. You're pushing on a spring that's too stiff for you. You leave energy on the table on every single swing. That was the moment behind Dale outdriving me. He wasn't stronger. His ball simply compressed and mine didn't. He was getting the full snap of the spring, and I was hitting a rock. But here's where it gets worse. And this is where I started to feel genuinely misled, because you'd think the marketing would tell us this. You'd think the biggest names in the business would put a simple chart on the box that says, if you swing this fast, play this ball. They know the science. They've known it for decades. Their own engineers could tell you exactly where the crossover point is. Therefore, the fact that they don't tell you is not an accident. It's a choice. Think about the incentive for a second. The premium ball is where the profit lives. That $55 box has a far better margin than the $20 box. So every ad, every tour sponsorship, every glossy campaign is built to push you toward the expensive tier no matter what speed you swing. They sell aspiration. They sell you the idea that you're one purchase away from playing like the guy on television. And they let you assume that the best ball for him is the best ball for you, because that assumption prints money. I'm not telling you those companies make bad products. They make brilliant products. I'm telling you, they sell the wrong product to the wrong golfer on purpose, and the golfer they do it to most is the senior player with money to spend and yards to lose. Let me give you the numbers that finally opened my eyes, because feelings aren't proof, and I want you to have proof. Independent launch monitor testing has looked at this again and again. When you take a golfer swinging around 85 miles per hour and you compare a firm tour ball against a proper low compression ball, the softer ball routinely produces higher ball speed off the driver and lower spin. Lower driver spin at slower speeds means less ballooning and more carry. We're talking a real gap, often in the range of 5 to 12 yards off the tee, sometimes more, just from switching to a ball that matches your speed. 5 to 12 yards for free, just by playing a ball that costs less than half of what I was paying. Do you understand what that does to a slow swinger's game? That's the difference between reaching a par 4 in regulation and laying up short of it every single time. That's a club less into every green. Over a full round, that is strokes, plain and simple. And it's not only about distance. There's a second lie tucked inside the first one, and it's about spin. The tour ball is famous for its greenside spin, that check and stop action you see the pros get. That's real, and it's beautiful. But here's what nobody says out loud. To generate that spin, you need clubhead speed and a steep, aggressive strike. Most senior golfers, myself included, don't produce enough speed on those short shots to unlock the ball's spin potential anyway. So you're paying a premium for a feature your swing can't fully use while giving up the distance you actually need on the full shots. It's backwards. You're paying more to get less of what helps you and more of what you can't access. Once I saw that, I couldn't unsee it. Every ball ad started to look like a magic trick, and I finally knew where to look for the hand doing the work. Now, I know what a lot of you are thinking right now, because I thought it too. You're thinking, that's fine for guys buying new gear, but I've already got my clubs. I've got my setup dialed in. I'm not spending a fortune to overhaul everything. Good. This next part is built specifically for you, the golfer who isn't buying a new driver and doesn't want to. Because the beautiful thing about the ball is that it's the one piece of equipment you replace anyway. You're already buying balls. This costs you nothing extra. You just buy a different box next time. But I'm going to give you something even better than a shopping tip. Something you can do this weekend with the balls already sitting in your garage, and it will genuinely change how you think about the ones you're playing. Here's the trick, and it comes from a place most weekend golfers never look. It's an old tour caddy test for finding a ball that's out of balance. Cheap balls, and even some expensive ones, aren't always perfectly balanced inside. The core can sit slightly off center. When that happens, the ball has a heavy side, and a ball with a heavy side will roll offline on the green and drift in the air. You could be missing putts that were never your fault. It was the ball wobbling on a bad axis. So here's how you find out. Take a deep glass or a bowl, fill it with water, and stir in Epsom salt, the kind you buy at any drugstore. Keep dissolving salt until a golf ball floats. Now drop your ball in, give it a spin with your finger, and watch. If the ball is balanced, it'll settle randomly, differently every time. If it's out of balance, the same spot will float to the top every single time, because that's the light side rising. Mark that floating spot with a dot. Do it a few times to be sure. Now you've found the ball's true axis. And here's how you use it. That mark you made shows you the balance poles of the ball. When you're on the green, set your ball down so your alignment line runs along that balanced axis, and the ball will roll truer. Tour players and their caddies have quietly done versions of this for years. I tested a dozen of my old premium balls this way, and 3 of them showed a clear, heavy side. 3 out of 12 in the most expensive ball I could buy. I'd been putting with wobbling balls and blaming my stroke. That test costs you a bag of Epsom salt and 20 minutes. No new clubs, no new anything, just better rolls from the balls you already own. And if you find that a chunk of your expensive box is out of balance, you've just learned something the premium price tag never guaranteed you. That test costs you a bag of Epsom salt in 20 minutes. And if you want to go even deeper on every one of these concepts, the compression numbers, the robot data, the exact model's worth your money. I put it all together in one place. I wrote a book called Swing Strong, and there's also a companion volume called Full Swing, specifically for golfers over 50 who are done being sold the wrong equipment at the wrong price. Everything in those pages is built around one idea. Your swing deserves gear that actually fits it, and knowing the right numbers is the fastest way to get there. You can find the link in the description below, and I genuinely think it will change the way you walk into a golf shop forever. Now, with that resource in your back pocket, let me walk you through what I found when I finally stopped trusting the label and started trusting the results. The first thing I did was stop being loyal to a brand and start being loyal to a compression number. For most senior swings, you want to be looking at balls in the low compression range, roughly the 30s to the 60s, depending on how much speed you still have. If you're a smooth swinger in the 70s of miles per hour, go even softer. If you still bring some heat in the mid to high 80s, you can carry a bit more compression without losing the benefit. Let me name names, because vague advice helps nobody. In the soft, low compression world, the Callaway Supersoft has been a senior favorite for years, and it sits down around the 30s on compression. It's soft, it launches easily, and it holds a straight line, and it costs roughly half of a tour ball. The Titleist TruFeel is another one, low compression, made by the same company that makes the famous premium ball, but built for people who don't swing at tour speed and priced far lower. The Wilson Duo Soft is one of the softest balls ever made, down around the mid-30s, and for slower swingers, it flat out goes. Srixon's Soft Feel sits a touch firmer in the 70s of compression, which suits the golfer who still has decent speed but wants the softer feel and the lower price. Every one of those balls runs you somewhere between $20 and $30 a dozen. Compare that to 55. You're saving $25 to $35 a box. And if you're a slower swinger, you're gaining distance while you save. That is the exact opposite of what I believed for 11 years. I believed you paid more to get more. The truth is that for our swings, you are paying more to get less. Now, I want to be fair, because honest is the whole point here. There is a real category in the middle that matters, and it's grown a lot. These are the soft urethane balls. Urethane is the cover material that gives the premium ball its greenside grab. For a long time, urethane only came on firm, expensive tour balls. But in the last several years, companies figured out how to put a urethane cover on a lower compression core. That means a softer ball that a senior can compress with a cover that still grabs a little around the greens. Balls like the Bridgestone E6 and the softer end of that lineup, the Max Flea Tour, and a handful of others live in this space. They cost more than the true bargain balls, usually in the $30 to $40 range, but far less than the Tour flagship. And for the senior who still wants some short game bite without the firm feel, they're worth a serious look. I'm not telling you to buy the cheapest thing on the shelf. I'm telling you to buy the right thing for your speed, and for a lot of us, that's cheaper than what we were sold. But this is where I have to open the door. I really brought you here to walk through, because everything I've told you so far, the compression, the model names, the salt test, all of it points toward one buried result that I stumbled onto late one night, and it's the thing that finally made me angry instead of just disappointed. Here's the finale. Here's the thing. They really don't want the average senior golfer to sit and think about. There's a warehouse club, the big membership store nearly everyone has been inside, that started selling its own house brand golf ball, a store brand ball. And when it first came out, It was a 4-piece ball with a urethane cover, the same category of construction as the premium tour ball, and it sold for around $15 a dozen. That's a little over $1 a ball against $55 a dozen for the flagship. So the independent testers did the obvious thing. They put it on the robot. Let me explain why the robot matters, because this is the part that killed the argument for me forever. When a human hits balls, there's variation on every swing, and the marketing can hide inside that noise. A robot swings identically every time, same speed, same path, same strike, over and over. It removes the human excuse entirely. It's the closest thing to pure truth we have in equipment testing. And when they ran that $1 ball warehouse ball against the $55 flagship on the robot at moderate swing speeds, the numbers came back close enough to be stunning. Comparable ball speed, comparable distance, comparable spin in the categories that mattered for that swing. We are talking about a ball that cost roughly 1/4 the price, sometimes less, performing shoulder to shoulder with the most marketed ball in the sport. That ball became so popular so fast that it caused an absolute uproar in the industry, and there was even a legal fight over it. Think about that. A store brand golf ball became such a threat that it ended up in a courtroom. Now, why does that matter to you, sitting there with your bag in the garage? Because it proves the thing I could never prove back when I was defending my expensive box in the pro shop. The gap between the premium ball and the sensible ball is not what the price tag says it is. For a tour player swinging 120 miles per hour, sure, the very best ball earns its keep in tiny margins that win tournaments. But for you and me, swinging 80-something, that margin shrinks to almost nothing, and in the categories that actually help our slower swing, the cheaper, softer, better matched ball often wins outright. The truth existed the whole time. It sat in the robot data and the compression charts and the courtroom filings, but it got buried under tour sponsorships and glossy ads and the simple, seductive lie that the best players play the best ball, so you should too. Somebody had to actually run the test, publish the numbers, and refuse to look away. And now you have it. You're holding the thing I wish somebody had handed me before I spent $4,000 proving it the hard way. So here's exactly what I want you to do with all of this weekend. No new clubs required. First, be honest about your driver's swing speed. Most launch monitors at any decent golf shop will tell you for free in about 2 minutes. If you're under 90, and most of us over 50 are, you belong in a lower compression ball, full stop. Second, buy 1 box of a soft, low compression ball in the $20 to $30 range and 1 box in the soft urethane middle tier, and play them back to back against whatever you're playing now. Trust your own carry numbers, not the label. Third, run the saltwater float test on your gamer balls and start lining up your putts on the balanced axis. Do those 3 things and you will feel a difference. You were told only came from spending more. Let me say the thing underneath all of this as plainly as I can. You were never a worse golfer for playing the wrong ball. You were a golfer who trusted the people selling to you the same way I did, and that trust was quietly turned against your scorecard and your wallet at the same time. That's the part that took me 11 years to feel in my gut. It was never about talent. It was about a spring that was too stiff for the swing I have now, and a price tag designed to make me feel like the problem was me. If you're the kind of golfer who would rather know the truth than keep paying for the hype, who wants to spend your money on the yards you can actually feel and not on a label, then you already think like the people I make these for. That's who we are here. We read the robot data, we check the compression, we test the ball ourselves instead of trusting the ad. So tell me one thing down in the comments and be specific, because I read them. What ball are you playing right now, and what's your driver swing speed? If you know it, drop it below. I want to see how many of you are grinding away with a ball that's fighting your swing, because I promise you it's most of us, and I'll reply to as many as I can with a straight answer on whether you should switch. Don't just scroll past. Type it out. That number might be worth 10 yards to you. And if this cracks something open for you, Stay with me and subscribe, because this isn't a channel. It's a group of golfers who got tired of paying to be fooled. Next time I'm taking apart the biggest lie in the driver aisle, the one about how much distance a brand new driver really adds over the one already in your bag. And I've got the numbers that made me stop upgrading every single year. It is not what they told you. If you want the full breakdown of ball compression matched to swing speed, the free guide I put together lays it out in one simple chart you can screenshot and take to the shop. Grab it, use it, and stop leaving yards and dollars on the table. You've been buying the hype long enough. Now you know better, and knowing better is the only thing that ever changed my game. You saw the truth today, but there's more I couldn't fit here. Inside the honest Fairway Club, I pick up right where I left off. Ask me your own question, and I answer you myself, a real person, not a machine. And you won't be alone. You'll belong with senior golfers just like you. Just point your phone's camera at the code on screen, and you can cancel any time. If this helped you find the right golf ball, do stay with me. Subscribe and look around the channel, because I have plenty more simple advice to help improve your game.